They go out and get what we classify as Uncle Toms, which are black people who, with malice of forethought and a complete understanding of what they're doing, they will sell out the interests of black people to whites in favor of money or some other perceived benefit, whether they actually get one or not. Through this system of Thomism, miseducation, and entertainment, which is a major psychological weapon system of training black people what to believe and how to behave, they have re-enslaved us, teaching us to do and act and behave in ways that are patently false and that will result in no positive and productive behavior, but only counter to our existence, so that they still have us in a type of slavery, except that they don't need chains to keep us enslaved, and they can let us roam free on the land because they know we will go nowhere, because they have shaped the intellectual boundaries with which we can think and act. To make it more precise, they made us physically rape our women men. Now they pay individuals in our community $1 million contracts to sing songs and do videos with our women presented as half-naked sexual objects bouncing around on the television screen, presented as sexual toys. Teaching young males that the value that a female has is her body, not her mind. Teaching young black girls that the value that she has is in her body and her sexual attributes, but not in her wisdom and her commitment to her people and her personality. And thus creating a set of circumstances where all black men learn to do is abuse and otherwise mistreat our women. And then the natural instinct of a man kicks in that does not have respect for a woman who is loose and gives herself freely to males, and so he does not respect her, and it creates a cycle of black men mistreating black women, then not respecting black women for the behavior they participate in and because of it, and then because our women have been taught that their only value is in their sexuality, we have a whole cycle of destruction, because then you have decent black men who only want to see the best thing for black women, so they're operating outside of the normal construct of racism and white supremacy. And because they actually love and respect black women, those same black women have been trained to hate and brutalize those men, to perceive those men as weak for loving and appreciating her, and then abusing those men. So if you're a black man who fits in the typical category of a Negro who abuses black women and does not think that black women have value, you are given many sexual rewards and any kind of reward from black women because she believes that she has no value. And since you treat her like she has no value, she values your appreciation for her. But then the very converse relationships exist with the man who has the greatest respect for her, the greatest love for her, the greatest commitment for her. She becomes and perceives him as weak and stupid because she believes she has no value. And so when he tries to treat her well, she brutalizes him. She argues with him. She fights with him. She does everything possible to drive that man out of her life because somewhere deep in her psychology, she does not believe that she is worth being treated like a queen in the manner that this man sees her. And so she perceives him to be weak and foolish to see her in such a high regard, and so she sabotages that relationship by mistreating him, trying as much as possible to destroy his sense of manhood, because men measure their manhood and how well they can keep their own women happy. If a man's woman is happy, that man sleeps good that night. It doesn't matter what it takes, that's what he wants to do. But when he finds a woman that he cannot make happy, it destroys his self-esteem, it depresses him, and he either is going to move on or he's going to slowly die. And so our women, through the media, have been trained to be the kind of women to kill black manhood. Not only do they shoot down and try to kill black manhood because of what our enemies teach them, but they also kill it in the children. So if they have a strong black male child, the media has trained them to believe that the black male is a monster and that an aggressive black male is a monster and a rapist of black women and an abuser of black women. And because many of our women have suffered sexual abuse by the hands of black males, who are sick and through the system of racism and white supremacy have been trained to brutalize our own people. In addition to that, even if they haven't been sexually abused by black men, they watch a media that constantly tells them that strong, aggressive black males are monsters, and that is put a rubber stamp on that when they listen to the music with these aggressive black males calling them bees and hoes and every negative term that they hear. And so they hate black male aggression. And so when they have a little boy, they try to turn him into something as feminine as possible because they hate the male aggression because they've been turned to believe it's something bad. And so by virtue of the fact of hating black malehood and black male aggression, they take what would otherwise be a sprouting, blossoming black warrior who would fight on behalf of his race and turn him into a punk and a homosexual right in her home, punching on him, dressing them in pink clothes, letting them be lazy, not allowing men to put discipline on them. And so the European has created a psychological system of sabotage and self-destruction in our community that in many ways is more effective than the slave chains and the whips and the sex farms and the breeding farms that they had during the course of chattel slavery.
So much information. Critical component that you talked about, a lot of the resentment that is built up black females have, being mistreated, being in a system of racism, white supremacy, and black males not being in position to protect them, provide, care for them. I have spoken about feminism and how I think this is a tool of racist white supremacists, and I have had more than one black female respond and get very upset and say that that was me practicing sexism. I wanted to share some of the comments because I'm certain that you have also encountered some black females who have not been appreciative of you making any statements about feminism. One of the folks said that black women during civil rights and any major transition in the black community have always spoken out against and warned against the deceptive black males that speak against racism but really think that women are beneath them and only are here to serve the black man. That the more this person hears black males speak against racism, the more I am seeing a trend that black males want the power the white man has. Black males want to be the white man. Have you heard any comments like that when you give these sort of presentations, and how do you respond to it?
Brother, not only have I heard that, but I've heard far worse than that. I've been called names and terms have been used in reference to what I'm doing that I wouldn't like to use on your show because I want to be polite. And I'm sure you can, my brothers and sisters out there that are listening, you can imagine some of those terms. I'm going to tell you what happened intellectually. And you're absolutely correct when you say that feminism is a tool in the hands of white supremacy as it relates to how it is used to make black women fight against their own race. What happens is that when a black woman adopts feminism, she literally becomes a European in her thinking, meaning her complete mental construct changes. For a black woman to make the statement that she believes that a black man thinks that black women are here to serve black men, and she has a problem with that, tells you that she is very, very sick, because if you are in a balanced relationship, and if you are an African, and you know that you're an African with a heritage of African culture, and you know anything about what that means, we have always prided ourselves as men being here to be servants, leaders, protectors of our women and children. So we are servants of our women. We want a beautiful world that they can live in and enjoy. We are here for them. And our women are supposed to be here as nurturers of our family, as servants to the men, as servants to the children. We all serve one another in an interest of bettering our community. what happens is the European construct is that the only thing that has value is the male. The female is a sexual toilet. And so the female has to develop, in Europe, had to develop their own ideology to allow them to feel like they had any type of value whatsoever. So what it led to, because, and we talked about this on the show before, I think we did, about the hierarchy of European sexuality where grown males with little boys was their primary sexual type of interaction. So what happens is, under the system where white females were not appreciated sexually, they began to deal with one another sexually. And so the ideology began to develop that there was this whole world for females that is a sexual world that is in a world with males, who the males want to be with each other sexually, and these females want to be with each other sexually. So there's a competition between the males and the females. And so the female develops the system, I can do whatever you can do as well as you can do it, and I can do what you, but they want to do that because the only thing in European society that has value are things that have male attributes to them. So for instance, if you can cook well, that's perceived as a female attribute for Europeans. It doesn't have any value. So you don't want to be relegated to having to cook. Raising children, it's not looked at as important. They don't really care about their children and the well-being of their children and the raising of their children. And motherhood is not something that's revered in Europe. We even see where the Europeans will take us during slavery, enslave us, and actually take the women that they're brutalizing and killing and let them raise their children. Why? Because motherhood is not something they value. You wouldn't enslave a group of people and then turn your babies over to them unless you done lost your mind, or a combination of lost your mind, and in addition to having lost your mind, you really don't care about children. It's not something that is a priority to you. It's not something you really want to do anyway. So these things that are relegated as low in European society, here's the problem when a black woman thinks like that. The European, in many ways, being the savage, the degenerate demon that they are in the way that they operate and exist, they're the antithesis and the complete opposite, 180 degrees diametrically opposed to African culture. In African culture, the things that were revered the most, one of them was the ability to produce life. So for a black man, a black woman being able to produce life was the greatest, or one of the greatest things that could exist. Here it is, God has given this woman the ability to produce a child. The man did not have that ability to produce a child. And so for us, that made her, to some degree, almost superior. And so we would bow to the power of the woman to bring forth a child. And so for her to be a mother with 10 or 12 children, she was looked at in our communities as a great mother, as a great woman. If all she did was raise 12 healthy, decent people for our community, she had done more than anyone in our community could possibly do. The greatest warrior in the world would come and sit before her feet as an elder and say, "Great mother, we just appreciate you so much." Now, for some people that sounds corny, but that's who we are as a people. If you want to call us corny, it is what it is. We reveled and marveled in the ability for the man to go and work hard to produce for his family and to come home to a nice environment. Who produced that nice environment? Who produced the children? Who kept that environment in a positive, productive manner? It was the black woman. We were not interested in going and overthrowing every race and murdering and pillaging. So because our culture wasn't developed like that, we actually got some enjoyment out of everyday living and life. Planting crops, talking to one another, social, and we actually enjoyed that. So when you can enjoy those things and you're socially healthy, there is no need to devalue the things that make that possible. The European, being a very nomadic, destructive, death-seeking being, does not have a need for a homemaker because his intent is not to build a nice home but to go and destroy others. The thing he found is the most valuable is a destructive, a disorganizer or